Page 5, Ode to Styles. It's a very famous melody, and they've just put in a whole lot of different musical styles in this. So basically, it doesn't make any sense. But the idea is you're experiencing different styles of music here, all rolled up into one little package. Keep in mind, people don't agree on a lot of these things, so we're just going to present it as the book, and then when I can, I'll explain where other people might think differently. I have a routine I go through when learning a piece of music, and I use that in all the lessons. You have your own routine to learn a piece of music. Everybody has their own, but for my videos, I use my routine, and you can use whatever you choose. There's a number of things we have to keep in mind, and my brain doesn't work that way very well, so I have to do these like one at a time if it's challenging. Now, if I'm sight reading or something, I do everything all at once. Good luck. But otherwise, I'll take these things one at a time, and I kind of build the piece. For instance, first I'd like to just have an idea of how long it is, so I just kind of look it over. It's 1 page long. I just need a general idea. What am I getting into? Some pieces can be 25, 30 pages long. You have to be careful. Then I check the clef signs. This starts with treble and treble clef. I always check the clef signs because you never know. They change throughout the piece, but at the beginning, what am I dealing with? Treble and treble, and I see that they do change. I'd look at the key signature. It doesn't look like there is a key signature. Actually, no sharps or flats is in the key of C major. I'm assuming you're doing scales and probably arpeggios by now when you get to this level. If you're not, you should be, in my opinion. So do the scale for C major and go ahead and do the scale for A minor, because that is also no sharps or flats. 1 octave up and down is fine. You don't spend a lot of times on scales. You just a little bit of time each day. Just learn the scale. Do the trill exercise and the accents that I show in the scale in the video. Yeah, it goes a long way toward being able to play the music well. The time signature is 4/4 time, which that starts 4/4 time. The time signature is going to change now because of the different styles. We'll deal with that later. Now I want to take this one hand at a time. There are different fingering styles for playing piano. The one that I use was the one that I was taught in college that did me the most good. It's the one that I teach. It has certain principles that we follow. Other people don't follow those principles. Their fingering is different. I find I have to change fingering in these books all the time because it's different than what I want. I want a fingering where I can connect everything with the fingers. I don't want to be using the same finger on multiple notes if I don't have to. I want to use different fingers. And I also don't cross over the thumb if I don't have to. Sometimes you have to, of course, but if I can figure out a way not to, I usually go with that. So we'll start with their fingering, they're suggesting, and then see what it is. Understand the fingering in music is somebody's suggestion, somebody's opinion of what it should be. Now, in etudes, sometimes the fingering is part of the etude. That's different. This is not an etude. It's just a compilation of different styles of music. So we'll start with their fingering and see what we get. Right hand, you're here. That puts you in this position to start. 1, 2, 3. Just quarter notes, nobody. And then we get 6/8 time. And they don't get to count, and there's 6 of them. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There has to be something, in most cases, which ties the 2 different time signatures together. Well, something. A lot of times, most of the time, it's actually the pulse or the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2. So when I get to the 6/8 time, it's going to be like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the 1 and the 4, because you feel it in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to keep that pulse the same. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, if you can play it that fast. And then it goes back to 4/4 time in here, and this is 1 and 2 and 3. See, the first 3 notes all together is 2 beats. It's just they stuck the 8th note first, so it's 1 and 2 and. And let's bring thumb down, and then we have the blues there for measure 7. And by the way, these numbers at the beginning of the lines above the staff are measure numbers. So I usually refer to measure numbers. So here it's the fingering they want is here, and then 2, and then they cross over here. And that's okay. I just don't want to cross over with the thumb. So I'll alter the fingering slightly. It's here. If I just stay in this position, here, 3, and then I can come down here. But that brings my hand up in here. And that causes problems for some people because they got big hands and fat fingers and they don't fit. Although there's no black key here, so you might be able to fit. A lot of times in music, we have to cross over the thumb to allow for this. And I don't want to finger it this way, 2, 1, then I switch them and do a 1, 2. It's quite common for people with larger hands, in which case they would use the fingering in the book. Yeah? And that swing style thing, I'll come back to that later. When I first figure out the notes and rhythms, I just plain ordinary rhythm. The eighth notes, 1 and 2 and. Going on, measure 9 is 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 2. And then measure 11, that little squiggle thingy, I'll come back to that later. Right now, just play the note. So that's, again, measure 9, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Here. Now, if you don't want to do this, then use third finger on that. For measure 9, just use third finger. That way you're in position to go on, because in measure 12, they want thumb, and measure 13, they want thumb again. I'd rather not. So if I just go here and measure 11 and stay there, I'm ready to go. Now I'm ready for measure 13. I'm right there. 1, 2, rhythm, measure 13. 1E and 2E and I don't know how you were taught to count 16th notes. I really don't care. Just however you count them. Don't turn it into a triplet. It went rock. Ba-dee-da-dee-da. That's a triplet. It's got to be short. You can come on up for, what, measure 15? I don't like doing this, so what I would probably do is I can do here. Although we can go ahead and do a 1-5 there and measure 14, and then 1-3 again. And then they want here, we have 2 voices, and measure 15, because that's why the stems are going opposite direction. 2 voices. The top voice, and the bottom voice, and then that's it for the bottom voice, unless the bottom voice does the top voice too. Huh? But the point is, you want to hold the half notes down. Here. Hold that half note down, and then you can go. And it's a triplet there in measure 16. 1 and a 2. 1 and a 2 and 3 and. 1 and a 2 and 3 and. Piano players go back and forth between triple and duple all the time. We get good at this because we did it a lot. So, and on second. This way we're ready for measure 17. You come down a little bit here. Now, rhythm, just slow. Measure 17. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This fingering is good. And now they're all flats in measure 18. Same notes, just flats. 1 and naturals again. And in measure 19, you don't need the natural signs. They're naturals anyway. But they don't hurt being there unless you start to expect them. You might think, oh, they didn't put naturals in there, so it must still be a flat. And that's incorrect. They are naturals. 1 and 2. And the last measure, 1, rest, and come up here, and that mess at the end, that chord, spell out the chord if you're not sure what it is. 1 note at a time, starting at the bottom. This is the last quarter note in the piece. It's an E natural, and the natural sign is necessary because we just had an E flat earlier in the same measure, and that flat would still apply. So we have to have a natural. So and then a G, and then an A, and then a C. So we got the chord figured out. Okay. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Let's try the left hand. We're starting here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Do you read? And then they want thumb again. I'd rather not. I don't want to go here to here. I want to connect it. So for third measure, I'm just going to reach down and I can use 3 or 2, either one. I don't know how big your hands are. Then reach down again. But the point is I can connect it. Here. Here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this thumb on that last note, that's good in measure 4. Because this prepares us for the next measure. So 1 and 2. Now you have to come down. See, I can't. Sometimes we do have to lift up and move. It's just the way it is. Huh? And for measure 6, I'm going to use 4 finger on the D. That way I'm in position for the 5th finger. It just makes it a little easier. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. And if you don't want to cross over the thumb, and I don't, then I just reach up here and 3rd finger. This is measure 7. 1 and 2, then 2. I got them all in one position. I didn't need to cross over the thumb, and you don't need to cover all the notes at the same time. You can bring the hand up as you go. And measure rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then 1, 2, 3. This works out well. That's all right. Let's go down to measure 15. You're here. There's a boogie woogie pattern. It's very common in boogie woogies to have this pattern. So 1, you come up, and for measure 16, I'm going to do a 5-2. On these patterns, I generally use 2 on the bottom one here. I can't do that in measure 15 because the 2's already there. So I'm going to play 1. And now for the next measure, I'm going to use a 2. And then here, 2, 3. Okay. Let's put the hands together and see what happens. Now, when I first put the hands together, I will hesitate. That's normal. Because we'll deal with the hesitations later. I just want to know which fingers are working together and how the rhythm works for the hands, because the rhythm is not the same in each hand. We're here and here. So then I'm going to go a 2 or a 3, whichever. 1. What was that? Well, it gets back to the rhythm. And we can deal with the rhythm a little more now. I want to know how the hands are working together. So the 3rd measure, it's here, and then here, and then here, here. And then measure 5 is 1 and 2. And then 1 and 2. Anyway, I go through and I put the hands together. And then I'll go back over it in bits and pieces. Now this is like every 2 measures, you're changing a style, so just do it in 2 measures. Get the first 2 measures so you play it slow with no hesitation. Is that slow? I don't know, it is for me, but you might want to go slower than that. And once you can play that, then put it aside. Don't keep playing it once you have it learned. Just focus on the next 2 measures, these measures. Get those down at some speed, slow, no hesitations, and once you have that, put them aside. Then do the next 2 measures. Yeah. And keep working through it that way. Then once you have it all learned, then you go back and put it all together. You'll still be able to play the stuff that you put aside. You will not have forgotten it. The point I'm making is that when you're learning a piece of music, don't spend a bunch of your time playing what you can already play. That's inefficient. You're wasting time. You might enjoy yourself, but you're still wasting time. As far as learning, you're wasting time. It takes longer that way. You want to learn it fairly quickly, then focus on the stuff you can't play. And then once you can play it all, then you put it all together. Slowly. And no hesitations. It's a steady beat at somewhere. You figure the beats out as you go, I guess. And then I add the articulation. The articulation are the accents and the slurs and these little ornament things they put in there. Well, here, they didn't give you any articulation. You just connect them. They did in the left hand, and they say why. Well, it depends on the editor. But if they don't give you any articulation, it's entirely up to you how you want to play it. I could play that stuff if I wanted to, because it doesn't say anything. You have to judge it on what the music needs and your training. You want to play it musically. This is not a choppy staccato piece. This is a smooth piece. You connect it. So we would play it connected even though it doesn't say anything. But when they give you slurs like in the left hand, you don't have a choice. You can't disconnect those. You have to connect them. And that's what, disconnect it. And then here, those curved lines in measures 3 and 4 are slurs. You have to be careful because sometimes that curved line is used as a phrase. They're treated differently. A phrase is a musical sentence or a musical thought. Generally, most of the time, we will lift up before and after a phrase. It's like when you say a sentence, there might be a little silence after the sentence. With me, there's silence all the time. But generally, it's after the sentence, finish the sentence. Then you start another sentence, and here's another sentence. There's a little silencing. That's what we would do. We lift up for a little silence in between the phrases, but we don't mess up the beat. The beat has to be steady. So we just cut the last note of a phrase a little short so we can lift up. This curved line, these are slurs. All the slur tells you is connect the notes in the slur. We don't necessarily lift up before and after a slur. So on measures 3 and 4, I would connect all of that together. You know, I would have put a slur line over the whole 2 measures. That's the phrase. And the left hand, again, I'm just connecting it. And then measure 5, nothing, but they give you staccato. And these I'm hinging at the wrist, and it's short. Bum, bum. I'm on the key and I'm bouncing off. And then connect it. I'll come back to the swing a little later. We're just connecting all that together. Those are slurs. Now measure 9, again, we're connecting this. All right, measure 11. This little squiggle thingy, it's 3 notes. It's the note given, the next note up in the scale, in this case it'd be an E, because we're in the key of C major. It's the next note up. And then the note again. Very quickly. They're not rhythmic. And I almost always will use 3 fingers because I can do 3 fingers. I can do that more easily than that. That is, it's tension. So we do a 4, 3, 2. And that's weird at first, but I would encourage you to do it. You should do it in both hands. Eventually get where it's just one thought, one motion. So that's what we do here. And the first note is played with the left hand. It's not a triplet. No, it's quick. Yeah. Measures 13 and 14, you connect those if you can. And then again, connect it. The rhythm here in measure 16. 1 ended, 2 and 3 end. 1 ended, 2 ended. And I'll add the little swingy rhythm later. Right now it's just that. And then at the last one, accent. This this is only a quarter note, so it comes 1 and 2. And then here. And then the last one is a staccato and an accent. So it's short and a little louder. Let the wrist collapse a little bit. Don't pound on the piano. That's basically all it is. Pretty simple, right? Now once I have idea of the articulation, then I'll add the dynamics. And it applies to the melody. In this case, the right hand, that's soft. This has to be very soft. And then measure 5 is loud. And that's right hand. This can come up a little bit, stay in the background. And stay loud. And then measure 9 is sort of soft, mezzo piano. Here. Then loud for 13. And then come down to measure 15, sort of loud. And then you end it loud. Yeah, you can read the dynamics. I shouldn't have to explain all that. I'm trying to be thorough because it's the first lesson in the book. I don't go quite this thorough in all the lessons, because all of them would last forever, and you'd get bored, and I get bored, and everybody's bored by now anyway. But I'm trying to cover everything I can think of now. And you can watch this video more than once and be bored more than once. You'll love it. And once I have the dynamics, I think about the speed. And the speed's going to change. This is Andante is sort of a casual stroll. You're kind of walking, maybe through a park or somewhere, and you're not really headed anywhere. You're just taking your time and walking along. So, but I'm trying to keep the 1, 2, 3, and then 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we have natural accents, which I'll talk about in a minute, but that's how I'm tying those together. Now in measure 7, we have a blues. And in certain styles of music, it's just the way you interpret that music. And blues, swing, and jazz, those 3 different styles of music, genres of music. Generally speaking, we will swing the 8th notes. You just do it. There's no notation for it. It's just, you count it. It's not 1 and 2 and, it's 1 and 2. And you feel it too, because it's not always going to be the same shortness. You feel it. And that's what they're telling here. On measure 7, they're showing you swung, and then they give you that example. That example is just an idea of what it is. It's not exactly a triplet, but it's close. And so, and then ba-dee-da-dee, that's all we're doing here. And then minuet, you're back to a straight. You get down to measure 15, they want you to swing it again. Now, on a boogie-woogie, I generally don't swing 8th notes in a boogie-woogie, although some people obviously do, and you can. And that's what they're telling you, to swing the 8th notes there on measure 15. Well, that makes it easier to do the triplet than ba-da-da-dee-da-dee-da, because it's like you're doing triplets throughout it. Ba-da-da-dee-da-dee-da. Yeah, whatever. Triplets go very well with a swung rhythm because they're so close to the swung rhythm, it just blends in. And you keep swinging all the way to the end. Yeah, 1 and 2, and you feel this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah. Now once I have all that out of the way, I think about the interpretation. And this is where a lot of teachers stop. They say, interpret it, no problem, play it this way. And they play it and you copy. It's called the monkey method. Monkey see, monkey do. You just do whatever you teach. I had several teachers do that. They wouldn't teach interpretation per se. I try and include some of it, at least a little bit. But I don't include everything in any video. It's bits and pieces in different videos. So you got to watch multiples to kind of get the picture. But the first thing I do in interpreting anything is the natural accents. music has natural accents. When you dance to the natural accents. You feel them. 4/4 time is 1 and 4, 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And you can exaggerate these if you need to at the beginning. But to feel this on 4/4 time. Measure 5. And even in the swing, you'd feel a. Yeah. Of course, if it's a syncopated note, like in measure 8, that's C, because that's what you expect. But we play the C quick. It's a syncopated note. We usually accent those. You just do it. It's part of interpreting the music. Now, in 3/4 time, you get 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That type of thing. Minuet at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I have the natural accents. They give some accents, and those are forced accents. The natural accent, you just feel it. Well, there's more I can talk about interpretation, but let's leave it at that for now. Try and get past the mechanical stuff, where you can just feel the music. Now, when we get to a certain level, I don't necessarily do play with me's. That's a section of my video, I would call it a play with me, where I invite you to play along with me. I play the piece really, really super slow. No dynamics. We're just playing notes and rhythms. And I invite you to play along. This way you can check, do you have the right notes and the right rhythm? If you have a teacher, they'll tell you, I hope. If you don't have a teacher, how do you know you played a wrong note? How do you know the rhythm is correct or not? So I would do play with me's. So in this book, I will sometimes do it and sometimes not, because once you reach this level, I hope you have an idea if you're playing the right notes or not. I expect it to do this. You should be able to read the music. You know the names of the notes. You know the names of the keys. You know you can do the counting. You can do the rhythms. If not, this book, you're not ready for this book yet. Go get a beginner book, another book that teaches you and helps you get used to that stuff before you try this book. This is an intermediate level. It's not a beginner level. And in this piece, this jumps around so much, I'm not going to bother with a play with me section here. Now, some of the pieces in the book might be actual pieces, not arrangements, of very famous classical music or something. And if it is, I don't demo them. You can go find recordings of it. Listen to the professionals play. But listen to multiple people play it. Don't just listen to one or two, because they'll play it differently. If it's something that I don't think is a common thing that you're going to find a lot of recordings of, I may demo one for it. So I'll play this for you. I'm hoping you don't wait and listen to me play it and then say, oh, is that how it goes? Okay. And I would prefer that you be able to read the music and discover what it sounds like on your own. And then once you have it learned, if you would like to listen to others play it and compare what you've done to what they do, because a lot of times you'll hear them do something in it and you like that, and oh, I want to do that too, and you can incorporate what they're doing with you. That little bit of copying is fine. Just don't say, well, play it for me so I can hear it. A lot of teachers will do that when they have a student. First thing they'll do is play it for the student so they can hear it. I don't. I'm opposed to that. I think it's better for you to discover what it sounds like on your own. It's harder for you. It takes more time, but I'm a mean teacher, so it works out great. If I were to play that later, I'd play it a little differently. I'd play by feel. Depends on how much coffee or wine or whatever I've had to drink and how I feel and what time of day it is. It's whatever.